Open the meeting tonight with pledge of allegiance to the flag and a moment of prayer, silent meditation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, number 2 on the agenda, public comment on any agenda items. We'll take care of those when we get to the agenda items. Number 3, approval of council minutes for the meeting February 8th, 2021. Do we have any additions or corrections? Hearing none, then a motion would be in order.
I'll make a motion to accept minutes for February 8th, 2021.
I'll second.
Any question on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have
I
it.
will abstain.
Ed's abstaining, so it's 401. Thanks, Ed. Number 4 on the agenda, consideration of a lot line change for James Kelly, 3132 Prospect Avenue. You proposed use residential, tax parcel 2-4-239 and 2-4-239-1. Before we get started, Joe, if there's anything on this as we come up, and after we're done this one, I'll go to you for, we'll go on one item at a time if you have any public comment.
Now,
Okay.
I know that Mr. Kelly was in touch with my office earlier this afternoon to get the login information. I don't see him in the waiting room here. There is a Kathleen. I'm going to admit Kathleen and see if she is here on that application.
Hello?
Hello, is this Mr. Kelly?
Yes, it is.
Okay, there we go. You're showing up on our screen as Kathleen, so I wasn't sure if we had the right person or not.
Yes, it's James Kelly.
Good evening, Mr. Kelly.
Okay, Mr. Kelly, we have your application in front of us. Did you want to go through the letter that you got from Russell Benner? Give us an idea of what you're looking to do.
Yes. It was about 30 years ago I subdivided the property, and at the time, it was pretty much conveyed to me through the township that this was the only way I could do it to obtain that 12,000 square feet for lot number 1. But I had tried selling the property back in 2008, and anyone considering it was not interested in it because of the portion that was cut out on the back of lot 1. I want to make sure I'm calling lot 1 and lot 2. Yeah, lot 1. Oh, is that what it was actually cut out of the back of lot 2. It was 60 feet by 27 feet. So what I'd like to do is have the minor line change just at the corner of that garage to go straight back. And I understand that's going to put me under the 12,000 square feet, but I'd like to get approval on that. And then when I put a house on it, I'll have to go for the necessary requirements to do that.
Mr. Polari?
Yes.
Yeah, it says on the letter from Ken, our zoning guy, that a variance was required for the area of lot 1. Was that variance received?
No, we don't have a variance at this point.
Okay, well, that's up to Mr. Polari, but we normally,
Well, and that's why I was just talking to the solicitor. Usually we don't go through the approvals and do the approvals without you having the zoning variance ahead of time. Otherwise, we create a hardship for you, and that's not the way we normally do it. You should normally go to zoning first, get the zoning relief, and then come back to us for the approval for what you're looking to do with the lot line change. Joe, what's your opinion?
I would concur with what you've said, Mr. Polari. Typically, Mr. Kelly, the council will certainly entertain your application, but inasmuch as what you're asking the council to do would be to either make a non-conforming lot or to make an already non-conforming lot to increase that non-conformity. Typically, the council likes to be the last stop on these sorts of things, and so to the extent that the approval of the zoning hearing board would be necessary, you should go and secure that first, and then come back to the council for the approval of the lot change after that.
Boy, that's unfortunate on my end because I went right to the zoning office there, planning and zoning, talked to a couple people on that, and they said this was the route I go. This is when that decision would be made. I would have done that right from the start if I would have had the right information. I mean, this really sets me back.
There's a letter here.
I apologize in as much as I'm not privy to those conversations, and I'm not sure what the basis would have been for that direction if in fact you received it. But at this point, at least unless I'm reading Mr. Benner's memorandum incorrectly, once this is an existing non-conforming lot, is that correct?
That's right.
Well, I think they're both conforming lots at this point before the
That's right.
subdivision. And then lot number 2 will become non-conforming, or I should say, I'm sorry, lot number 1 will become non-conforming if the subdivision would go through. So his relief is going to be to ask for a lot, which I believe is 10,000 plus square feet, which is 2,000 less than the 12,000 required in the R1 residential district. So he has to ask for zoning relief to allow for lot 1 after the subdivision to be essentially less than what's required for the R1 zoning.
I guess there's,
May I ask you, are you taking these lots, you have lot 1, you have lot 2. Lot 1 is basically an 80-foot frontage. Are you adding that little extra piece of ground that would make it an L-shaped type of a lot? Or are you taking that away?
I'm taking that away from lot 1, and that will become a part of lot 2.
Right. I think that he has 2 separate tax ID numbers, and if he left them alone the way they are now, if these tax ID numbers were separate 30 years ago, he'd probably just be able to build on it. But since he's lessening lot 1, and it squares it off, but it makes it less square footage, and since he's doing that now, there's zoning laws that say that he needs a variance, and this letter from his rejection from the zoning board, from the zoning office, says that you need a variance, and I don't know, I think he needs a variance first because he's got a lot, he's making that lot now, so he has to follow the rules from now.
But
what I have-
what you said and what Mr. Kelly said, I think I misunderstood either one of you. Is lot 1 going to be a rectangle when you're finished, or is it going to be a rectangular shape plus the extra additional piece of property that used to be on lot 2?
After the line change, both properties would be a rectangle, where there would be no flag lot out of it. I just want a straight line through the middle, right from the front to the back.
Okay,
Is
that
there
makes
any,
sense.
is there any way I can get a conditional approval? I mean, just so I don't have to come back to this board, and that I'll just go through the variance and then, is that possible?
No, because once we give you an approval, then we've made it into a non-conforming situation. You need to come to us with the approval from the zoning hearing board so that we can approve it as it's going to be. if we approve it now, we're putting ourselves in a position that we don't put ourselves in. You have to do it the right way, follow the right procedure. I'm sorry that somebody from the zoning department told you that you needed to come here. You need to go to zoning first, then come to us.
Okay.
So we can continue this to a later date, or,
Well, what we'll need, Mr. Kelly, at this point is, there's still sufficient time for you to get on the agenda for the zoning hearing board in April. I'd call the zoning office tomorrow to set those wheels in motion, but there's still time for you to do that.
So I believe the cutoff date is Thursday.
Okay. And so, assuming that you go to the zoning hearing board at their April meeting, assuming you get an approval from the zoning hearing board at their April meeting, you could then come back here. I'd say probably the second meeting in April would be a sufficient amount of time to make sure that we get everything in order. So, what I would need from you is an extension of time under the municipality's planning code for the township to consider this application. And I'd ask you if you could grant that orally now and then confirm it with a writing to my office or to the zoning office tomorrow.
Yes, and what is it you want in a letter from me?
A letter that would, the township is under a time restriction, this council is under a time restriction to act on this plan.
Okay.
If we were without an extension of time from you, then the board would vote tonight, and from the sounds of things, the board would vote to deny. So,
Okay.
what we need from you is an extension of time out until the end of May to give the township the ability to act on your plan between now and the end of May. That'll give you enough time to get on the April agenda if for some reason you can't get on the zoning hearing board agenda in April. And again, I don't think there should be a problem, but I don't oversee those operations. So if not April, then May. So if you'd give us an extension to the end of May, that would cover the time for the township to act on your plan.
Okay. I will provide that then.
you're giving a verbal now, right, that that's okay with you?
Yes, certainly.
Thank you.
For the sake of caution, should you not consider going to the month of June, Mr. Pizzo?
Well, it's up to council. I would think that he's definitely able to get, nothing needs to be re-engineered here. It's simple application to the zoning hearing board for a dimensional variance. They should be able to get on it in April. If not, then May, and that would give them the opportunity to come back to you by one of your two meetings in May. If we can certainly, if you think it's prudent, Mr. Kisselback, Mr. Kelly, you heard the request from Councilman Kisselback that just as belt and suspenders, that extension will be out till the end of June. Is that
Okay.
acceptable? I don't anticipate that we'll go into the month of June, but again, belt and suspenders, you're granting the township an extension of time to the end of June, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, can we get a motion to,
I'll put that in form of a motion, Mr. President, that we extend this application to the second meeting in June.
No,
June-
no,
I'll
June
second.
30th.
second meeting in April? And then we can continue it from there. If the zoning hearing board gets it done quickly for the gentleman, we could actually hear at the end of April or first meeting in May. But have an
You're
extension.
correct. In terms of the meeting itself, I'm proposing that the extension be extended to June, whereas the meeting, you want to put the meeting to our next meeting in the last meeting, it was the first meeting in April, is that correct?
Second meeting in April.
Second meeting in April, that's fine with me. That's good.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor.
I'll second it.
We have
Mr.
a
Flanagan, as you
second.
said.
Ed Technician. All in favor?
Aye.
Vote aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions, ayes have it, 5-0. Mr. Kelly, we'll see you the last week of, the last meeting in April.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, number 5 on the agenda, consideration of a lot line change, applicant Bensalem Township School District, 3330 Unionville Road, Snyder Middle School, zone classification R11 residential, tax parcel 2-33-331.
And we have Steve Core, the solicitor to the Bensalem School District, is here representing the school district on this application.
Yes, good evening, and we have been working in tandem with the 2201 Street Road to get this completed. I'm just going to introduce John Kousouris, who is here from Carroll Engineering, and he can complete the presentation for us. We have been working, I think, pretty well with the buyer, and we submitted the contract for professional services and along with another agreement between the school district and the buyer. So I'll let John take it over from here.
Sir?
Hey, good evening. So as you're aware, this is a lot line change that had been submitted. It's a fairly simple process and project, and my plan was just to go through your comment letter, which is pretty straightforward. I don't know how you guys want to go through it. If I can just be general and kind of go by and say, we'll comply to certain numbers.
Yes.
And then discuss further, or if you guys want to go item by item.
You're going to go through subdivision, Joe?
Yeah, if you want to start with section C, Mr. Core, and we can just go through, Mr. Polari, and you can go through them paragraph by paragraph.
All right, so I'll still take the lead on
And
this.
anywhere where it's a will comply, you can simply say will comply. I don't believe the council's all had the memorandum, they've all reviewed it. If they have a specific question, they'll ask it, but if it's a will comply, simply stating that will be sufficient.
Perfect. All right, so the first zoning ordinance, chapter 232. Number 1 is will comply. Number 2 is will comply. And that finalizes that section. Are there any questions on that section?
We'll go for questions at the end, so you can go through the subdivision,
Okay.
chapter
Perfect, thank you.
201.
Subdivision chapter 201, number 1 is will comply. Number 2 is also will comply. Number 3, will comply. Number 4, as far as the existing features within 400 feet of the boundary, we're going to request a waiver. Number 5, will comply. Number 6, as far as the wetland certification, we're going to request a waiver. Number 7, sewage facility planning module, we're going to request a waiver on that one as well. Number 8 is will comply. And then the final section under the general comments, number 1 is will comply, and number 2 is will comply. And that finalizes the full comment letter.
Joe, do you have anything?
No. Mr. Benner, as to item, as to the waivers, do you have any of the waiver requests that you believe are inappropriate or warrant additional discussion?
Yeah, John, on item number 4,
Yep.
typically, instead of a waiver request, if you would just submit a detailed aerial showing the location of properties, and then showing on that aerial for a distance of 400 feet on either side, that boundary, we
Yep.
find acceptable.
For sure, okay.
Detailed aerial that's easily readable, no fuzzy type aerials. Sometimes there's, we don't want that. Something
Yep.
that's clear and legible.
Yeah, we'll give you a high quality image. We'll show a 400-foot radius
We're fine.
around the site, and perfect. Thank you, Russ.
We'd be fine with that. In reference to the wetland certification, John, do you have any issue just putting a note on the plan stating that, certify that there's no wetlands on the sites?
I don't whatsoever. The only issue is that generally the wetland cert has to come from a wetland specialist, which I am not. And furthermore, as everyone knows, we're going to be taking this project to land development. So I figured if you guys had any pushback with this, we can just make sure, which will be a requirement, which I assume we won't be able to get a waiver for, and I won't need to request one. We can get our land development plan certified from a wetland specialist that there are no wetlands on that site. So if that would help, ease
John,
that.
Obviously you've submitted a land development plan.
Correct.
For the other site. And you haven't had a wetland investigation done yet, as of yet?
We have not, no. Nope. So we did preliminary wetland investigations, through all our regular routes, but, National Wetland Survey, inventory, through our PINDY, comes up with any species that might be in a wetlands. And there were 0 hits, so we didn't find any need to get a wetland certification at that point.
Do you want this wetland certification? Russ?
Well, he's got to either certify that there is or there is not, one way or another. Typically, we don't require him to go out and do a wetland certification. If they feel that there's no wetlands and they've looked at all, just get the note on the plan and have somebody certify that there's no wetlands on the site. But I prefer it be done. I would not recommend granting a waiver on that. And I understand the process that still needs to continue for the land development, but this is kind of really a standalone plan and an approval, and as such, should either have that certification on it, or if council sees fit, grant the waiver. But I prefer to see the certification on it.
Russ,
Do we need this for the lot line change at this
Yeah.
time, or would that be for a land development? later on?
No, this is only for the lot line change.
And
And
we
it-
would need that required certification in.
Yes. it's
Correct?
For the lot line change, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So if you guys,
Is that certification generally granted at a state authority level? With that
No, Jesse, he would just need to, as John said, he needs to go get a wetland specialist to go out there and do whatever he has to do, whether he looks at mapping or walks through the site. And then there's just a statement on the plan, I hereby certify there's wetlands or no wetlands on the site, signs it, that's all we need.
Okay. Now, John, does Carol have anybody in-house that performs that service?
no, we don't have a certified wetland specialist. We'd have to subcontract that work. We usually use Penn Trail Environmental. I was just hoping because it was just a lot line change and there's really nothing happening at this time that we wouldn't need to do the wetlands at this point for this project.
At some point in time, however, it's going to need to be done. If the engineer is suggesting that it be done now as part of this process, you'll be that much more ahead of the game as far as you're required for the land development. Because again, at some point in time for the development of that site, it's going to need to be done one way or another.
Mr. Polari?
Yes.
Yeah, I had a question. If you
Go ahead,
don't
Joe.
mind. Okay. I'm a little confused when I was trying to read over this, and maybe it's me, I'm not sure. Lot 1 is described as the property belonging to Snyder. Now, when you look at the map that was provided with our paperwork, it looks like it's all shaded, and it looks like he's subdividing and also purchasing the part that goes out to Unionville Road that in the beginning was supposed to be a road. It was my understanding from the last discussion that we're not having a road out to Unionville Road. So is Snyder still subdividing and selling him the ground to have a road go out to Unionville Road? Or I thought that was supposed to be taken off and he's only taking the part that would, they were going to keep that part that would have been a road since there wasn't a road? Or is he buying that for emergency access? Or why is he still purchasing the property for a road when we were told there won't be a road to Unionville Road?
My understanding, but again, Mr. Core or someone for the applicant can certainly correct me if I'm wrong, the agreement of sale with the school district ended up including the shaded area through some subsequent modifications of that agreement. Ultimately, that is what was purchased by the applicant and sold by the school district. And that's what the deeds will reflect as being the land that was sold, and the amount of money paid to the school district was for all of that land. I don't believe that the area that would have been, and at one point in time was intended for the road, I don't believe the plans that have been shown to the township include the development of a road on that site, but it is nonetheless at this point part of what the applicant or the purchaser of 2201 Street Road has purchased from the school district. Is that a fair and accurate statement, Steve or
Yeah.
Al or Mike?
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay, and just to clarify, Joe, I think I'm right, but again, I'm not an attorney, so you can tell me. The fact that we're allowing him to purchase that ground that goes out to Unionville Road in no way gives him any right to put a road there when he wants, right? It would have to be something.
That would have to come into us for the approval of the project. We haven't seen that project have any
Yeah.
approval. They're just doing the land, the lot line to.
Okay, I just want that clarified, that doesn't, he can't come back later and say,
Mr. Paisan?
I mean, obviously, the purchaser of the Armstrong property, 2201 Street Road, will have a piece of ground that will include that the shaded area that's part of what was purchased. Do they have the right to build a road at some point in the future? Again, as Mr. Polari said, ultimately, any development of the Armstrong parcel has to come in front of this council for land development approval. If you
Okay.
don't approve it, then it doesn't get built.
okay, I was pretty sure that was the case, so I just wanted to make it part of the record. Thank you.
But if we were to approve this, and it would be later on decided by a court, wouldn't it be quite apparent to someone making adjudication that we sold this piece of thin property with the idea that that would be a road in the future? I mean, what else could you do with that property?
If I remember correctly, and I mean, if we're talking in hypotheticals of how many iterations of designs we've seen on this property, I recall one being with this use as green space to meet his ratio requirements for impervious surface. So I think it's very early to figure out at this point what would or would not be done with that property.
Yeah, I agree, Jess. As long as we have the right to say, no, we don't want a road there. You know what I mean? That's all I was concerned about.
Not to mention that we would need, PennDOT would have to approve a road going there anyway because it would spit out onto Humeville Road, which is a state road.
Yeah, we'll let him put plenty of bushes there if he wants.
I'm just afraid we're creating a situation that doesn't need to be created. That's
Well, the
all.
purchase is already done apparently, and he bought that ground, so I don't want to.
As far as the wetland certification goes, I think we should have that certification because there are water issues and stuff in that area and back at the street next to it. I think a wetland certification should be done. Just my opinion.
I agree, Mr. Polari.
I agree too. It's pretty wet.
I think we all agree on that. I think that was pretty apparent by Mr. Benner.
Mike Stoll on behalf of the property owner, and with consultation with our engineer, John there, I think we can agree to make that a will comply and do whatever the council is requesting so that we can move and dispose of that issue.
Okay.
John, on the other issue, as far as the planning module, you requested a waiver of the planning module. Is that my understanding?
Correct.
John, and I'm just going to tell this to council and to you. We've had some issues with DEP where they've had some questions as things have been approved, and what we're requiring is, I'd like to see you send the mailer in. They'll process it quickly. They're going to say it meets the requirements for a waiver. They don't need planning modules. But I would advise council that I would like to have that on record, that from a subdivision standpoint of view, DEP looked at it, and then they have an official, we have an official piece of paper from them stating that they're all right with a waiver.
Yeah, I understand that, but typically, I mean, even if you're doing land development where you're proposing under 1 EDU or less than 400 gallons per day, you don't even need to do the exemption mailer. I mean, in this case, there's not even a building or anything proposed. We're literally just selling land, so it feels like a frivolous exercise and kind of a time extender.
Russ?
Yeah, I understand. I've said my piece.
Okay. Do we have any other questions from the board at this time?
So is Russ recommending that we shouldn't waive number 7?
Yeah.
Or
He's saying we shouldn't waive number 7 is
it's a planning module?
the planning module. Yeah, he's saying that we shouldn't waive that and we shouldn't waive the wetlands. We should have that done too. But, ultimately it's up to the board which one, whether we do or don't, but our engineer's recommending it. And
Okay, I just wanted to be clear it was number 7. Thank you.
any other questions?
Russ, I just want to confirm that for number 4, no waiver is needed as long as they comply with a detailed aerial photo. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So at this point, we're only looking at one waiver request for number 7. Is that correct from the applicant?
For number 8. So the wetlands we're going to have to do, we're not getting the waiver. So we're really at this
Right,
point
that's
only
number
now
6. And
requesting
number
the waiver.
7 for the sewage planning module.
Correct,
That one.
yep, sorry. Yep, you're correct.
Correct.
And you're still
But
requesting that
Russ
waiver
is-
at this point?
But Russ is recommending that we not even.
I understand.
That's correct.
In terms of the ultimate landowner, as John pointed out, we will be revisiting all of these issues as we move forward with the other applications that are on their way or currently being presented to the township, the planning commission, and this body as well. So if at all possible, we would request the waiver for that final item. We will be glad to comply and withdraw the waiver request for 4 and do all of that for these early plans. But certainly be able to address any of these issues regarding the waiver that we are requesting tonight in front of both the Planning Commission and this council in the future.
Well, that'll be up to the council when they make it. The engineer's saying that he'd like to have it. When the motion's made, the board will decide whether they want to give the waiver or not on that. Any other questions from the board?
Yeah, I have one regarding the same topic. How can the applicant, how can he suggested to be doing something with this particular property if he doesn't know what he's doing with it as of yet? Russ, I'm asking you.
Not sure I understand the question. Is that in relation to the sewage planning module?
With number 7, we're asking for a waiver in accordance with the applicant shall be required to submit the final plan. Do they know what the final plan is for it?
They do, then they know more than we do at this point, Mr.
That's
Kissel.
what I'm asking.
7, as it relates to number 7, we said the applicant shall submit proof of submission of a sewage planning module application mailer to determine if an Act 537 planning module be required. He simply sends the mailer in. There's a request for an exemption of the planning module, and then DEP comes back and says, because of, it's only really like, and I'm not disagreeing with John, it's a lot line change. DEP says you're exempt. But what DEP has told us, they want to be able to go on record as saying that they've granted the waiver or the exemption as it relates to the planning module. That's what they say they'd like to do. They'd like to have a record of that.
I understand. Okay, so they're going to grant the waiver, in your opinion, possibly, and that covers their procedures, and it covers us relative to us presenting it at this time, being presented.
Exactly correct.
Okay.
And the reference to final plan in the passage that you were reading, Mr. Kisselback, would be the final plan, in this case, the final plan lot line change plan, the plan that you, assuming you're inclined to this evening, if you vote to approve it, that's the plan that that section of the subdivision ordinance is referencing.
I understand. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions from the board? Ross, you have anything else, or Joe Pizzo, anything?
No,
You know,
at this point, based on this discussion, all of the items covered in the T&M memorandum of February 16 would be will comply items. Item 4 will be to the satisfaction of the township engineer by providing an aerial as described by the engineer rather than the plan,
Okay,
or as part of the plan, I should say.
very good. If there's no other question, then a motion would be in order.
I'll put that in the form of a motion, Mr. President, that the Township Council would approve the lot line change for the Bensalem School District, 3330 Humboldt Road. That's the Snyder School Middle School. The tax map parcel is 02-033-033-001. The applicant will go with the letter of T&M. And the date on that, if I back up, is dated February 16th, 2021. The applicant will comply with A, B, and C, as well as subdivision and land development 201 chapter, and that's section D. And as Mr. Pizzo just mentioned, number 4 would be in compliance by just having a detailed aerial to demonstrate the property line and the property itself. And the applicant will comply with all other items 1 through 8, and as well as section E. And that would be my motion.
I will second that, Ms. Blair.
We have a motion made and Ed Tochnasian second. Any questions on the motion?
Just one quick confirmation, Mr. Kisbeck. You are requiring number 7, correct?
Yes,
Yep. Thank you.
be complied with, yes.
Any other questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Vote aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it, 5-0. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for your time.
Have a good night.
You too.
Thank-
Looks like everybody.
Okay, we're going to do number 6 on the agenda is a consideration of public hearing on an ordinance amending Chapter 225 Vehicle and Traffic, Article 3, Parking Regulations, Section 7, Parking, Stopping, or Standing shall be amended to add the following restrictions. Blanche Road, no parking, northeast bound from Bridgewater Road to Wells Drive eastbound from Blanche Road to Bridgewater Road, and Wells Drive westbound from Blanche Road to Bridgewater Road.
So gentlemen, as was included in your packets, the township has received complaints regarding vehicles, particularly trailers and tractor trailers, parking along Wells Drive and Blanche Road within the Blanche Road Industrial Park. This continued parking of trailers and vehicles is creating obstruction of view, particularly for motorists pulling in and out of the various businesses located on those roads, and also making it difficult for some of the tractor trailers that need to get in and out of those buildings to make the maneuvers they need to do. It's also creating a plowing problem for our Public Works Department during snowstorms, and that's what really brought everything to a head. The traffic safety officer went out and performed an inspection, reported his findings back to Mayor DiGirolamo. and the mayor and the administration are recommending to all of you the adoption of the ordinance that we've included with your packet this evening that would make Blanche Road and Wells Drive no parking in the areas as set forth in the ordinance. The ordinance has been properly advertised in the Bucks County Courier-Times and is in a form acceptable for your consideration and approval this evening.
Any questions from council?
The only questions I have, I don't have a problem with the ordinance. Just curious, has the township or anyone tried communicating with the businesses along these roads, Blanche Road and Wells Drive, regarding the truck parking to see if we can alleviate it or at least give them a heads up that this is coming?
I believe they know it's what it is. They're the ones that are complaining, because I drove down Wells and Blanche a couple days ago, and there's tractor trailers that are parked there, and I know they're from the trucking company there, probably just out of room, out of room on their grounds there. It should be on their property, not on the township streets.
No, I agree with that, Ms. Polari. Just, has anybody actually communicated with that trucking company that this is coming, get the trucks off the street, and try and move it ahead of time?
We'll have to move them, but
One
these
second,
aren't
Mayor,
trucks.
you're muted, Mayor.
Mayor, you got to unmute.
They're not just trucks. They're just.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
I can't tell you if that's been done, but I want to bring up something. If you look at those pictures, one of the problems, these roads, we do them all the time. They're disconnecting their trailers there, and they put those right on the blacktop, those, where you come down, you wind down to keep them there.
Yeah.
And they're really putting holes in our road. For one, that's something that will help prevent the no parking there. They shouldn't do that anyway. But to your answer to your question, I don't think we did. To answer your question.
And they're
Okay.
using storage facilities. I mean, they're putting, it's not, they're not even connected.
Oh, they should be moved. I'm completely in support of this resolution. I was just wondering if anybody had actually tried to communicate and get these trucks moved off the street.
I'm going to say we did, Jess.
Okay. I'm hoping that we can do that in addition to just putting up the sign so that they know. That way we can hopefully expedite them removing them from these streets.
Okay, I'll have that done tomorrow. I'll have them
Thank you, Mayor.
communicate with you.
Any other questions from the board? If not, then a motion would be in order.
I'll make the motion, Mr. Blair.
Oh,
Go ahead, Jess. You're good.
I'll make a motion that we approve the ordinance as presented.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it, 5-0. Okay, for the next ones that we have coming up, I'm going to go to Mr. Pizzo first.
For item 7, the administration is asking that item be tabled, and we will bring it back probably at your next meeting. But there are some discussions that need to be had with the developer regarding Phase 3 before we ask for your final approval of those agreements.
There's a date you're looking for it to be tabled, Mr. Pizzo?
Since it's not a land development, we don't need a date certain, just a motion to table, and we'll bring it back when it's ready.
I'll put that in the form of a motion.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Kisselback, second by Joe Knowles. Any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it, 5-0.
Item 8 on your agenda, as well as item 12A, both involve the Victory Square subdivision and Cal Atlantic Group. As Mr. Polari alluded to at the outset of the meeting, we have received some public comment, a number of email pertaining to that project. So now would probably be the appropriate time before you act on that to receive the public comment regarding that project.
Please.
I'll take them. Now, I apologize in advance to the residents who have sent these in. I may butcher one or more names, and again, I apologize in advance. The first email is from Pramod Acharya and Anita Acharya, 100 Derby Lane. We would like to mention two issues. One, water pod at backyard, reported the issue to the association, still not fixed. Two, water overflows into basement from window well at the right side of the house during rain or snow time, reported the issues as well. The next email is from Tonya Presley, 108 Derby Lane. Good evening, my name is Tonya Presley. My husband and I reside at 108 Derby Lane in Victory Square community. I'm writing out of concern of news I recently heard regarding Lennar making attempt to collect on escrow funds from our community before all final projects have been complete. It was my understanding that our community was to have a tot lot and pond. However, we have yet to see any start of either project. In addition, our streets, upon completion of projects, are to be elevated, paved, and blacktop covered. Currently, all residents are experiencing a significant drop as we pull our cars out of our driveway onto the road. I've also noticed during the rain and after snow melting a significant amount of water running down our front entrance. We were told that this too would be addressed. Finally, we were informed that we would have a Victory Square sign positioned at the entrance of our community. Nothing yet. It is our hope that these projects will be complete to our community's satisfaction before any funds be relinquished to Lennar. The next email is from Dimple Desai at 135 Derby Lane. Hello, we bought this home from Lennar in 2020 for $627,000. We are so unhappy with this home. There are so many problems. The management people will come out and look at the problem, but it will never be fixed by claiming it's not under warranty. The main door doesn't shut properly. The bathroom sliding door is uneven. The bathroom tubs were chipped and installed and painted over, so we wouldn't notice during our walkthrough. The appliances are not what we were told we would be given. The hardwood floors are popping. The windows installed are so cheap, the toddler tot is not even built yet. Roads are fixed. There is no sign for the community. Water issues in my yard when it rains, and it turns into a river in my backyard due to a poor water drainage. Also, my grass was never done right, and it was all weed, and I complained about it numerous times, but they never followed through. I have submitted several warranty repair trouble tickets, and they still have not found or fixed the problems. We are so unhappy with Lennar and this home. Thank you. Next email is from E. Wyatt Gordon, 130 Derby Lane. Hello, my name is Dr. E. Wyatt Gordon. As I understand it, there is a township meeting tomorrow where the release of escrow funds to Lennar will be discussed. I'm very concerned about the potential release of funds. Lennar has not yet completed our community, and there are many residents that continue to have delayed solutions provided for their personal service requests. On behalf of my wife and myself, I would like to voice the following issues and request that the township not release funds to Lennar until they've completed their outstanding tasks. In our community, there are multiple items that have not yet been completed, including final completion of our roads, construction of our tot lot, completion of community signage, proper grading to prevent water runoff into the surrounding areas. Personally, we have outstanding requests on our house for plumbing issues under our second floor bathtub and replacement of misinstalled window. Thank you for your consideration. The next email is from resident Joe Sheridan at 102 Derby Lane. To whom it may concern, I'm writing because I've just been made aware that Lennar is requesting their escrow will be released and an extension on completing our community at Victory Square. I feel this would be a mistake. Lennar hasn't finished the community and has left the homeowners with unfinished roads, no tot lot, unaddressed warranty issues, and poor stormwater drainage. I've personally witnessed a stream running through my backyard strong enough to carry a small pet or, God forbid, a small child. It washed away any seed and exposed rocks and sticks. Lennar has told me numerous times since July 2020 that the grading would be slightly modified and yards reseeded. Every time I ask, I'm assured that it will be addressed in the next few weeks, and now it's been 8 months. Also, I have an internal wiring issue with my Ethernet. This has been a warranty request since August that has been ignored. Last week I got an email stating the issue was resolved and asked to rate them on their service. The issue hasn't even been looked at, and they're claiming it was fixed. I think Lennar is in the business of prolonging addressing issues until the owners either forget about it or hire someone to correct Lennar's problems, or if they get lucky, they just leave the community after their escrow is released. That's why I think you shouldn't release their escrow until the community is finished and not extend their deadline to finish. We as property owners in Bensalem as a community will be at a disadvantage if we are stuck finishing Lennar's project and correcting their mistakes. Sincerely, Joe Sheridan. The next email is from Mayank Mayank Bhavsar. Dear Sir, Madam, I am a resident at Victory Square Single Family Homes Community, house number 133 on Derby Lane in Bensalem. I am writing this email to inform you about pending issues still not resolved by the construction company Lennar. It has been more than a year since completion of all 30 homes at our community, but still a lot of work is pending to be completed by Lennar. Lennar promised to complete all of the pending issues by April 2021, but there is still no sign of anything going to be done. Still, the roads are not paved for final pavement. The tot lot is not completed for common garden along with swings for kids. Common area pending stuff has not been completed by Lennar. Lennar is asking Bensalem for an extension pending work along with escrow money of $900,000, which we highly object as a homeowner and community member. Also, the one-year warranty issues are still not completed by Lennar for my home. Even on repeated calling and messages, there has been no response from Lennar. I request your office please not give any extension to Lennar for pending work issues. All pending work must be completed by April of this year by Lennar. Thank you for your time to this issue. As a responsible resident of Bensalem, I request you to ask Lennar to complete all their pending work at our community as soon as possible. Please don't give Lennar any extension for their stuff. It's their job to finish the community by spring of this year. The next email is from Janesh Patel. Hello, I'm a resident of Victory Square. Would like to request the township not release any money to Lennar until they complete our road, tot lot, and water runoff issues in our community. I'm also facing a warranty issue on our year end. The only completed partial nail pops, but many of the other items are still pending. I'm not sure why the builder is asking for an extension to complete this project. It was scheduled to be complete in spring 2020, so they are already late. I request the township inspect our development before releasing any money or providing an extension. The next email is from Hamal Jarawala. Respected Sir or Madam, I am currently living in the community built by Lennar called Victory Square, located in Bensalem. As per promise, Lennar has not completed and has left unfinished external as well as internal warranty works. I moved to the community in 2019. It has been already a year and following things are not completed in my home. All hardwood floor work is still pending. The bathroom tile is not installed properly. There are cracks in tiles and they are not fixed. There's a gap between the floor and the wall in the master bedroom and in other rooms. The pillar near the stair is bent and not in line. The external pillar near the entrance has gaps and still required to be fixed. Thank you for your help. Next email is from Victoria Capusta. Hello, my name is Victoria Capusta. My husband Mike, along with our youngest daughter, live at 128 Derby Lane, located in Victory Square. I noticed that the builder of Victory Square, Lennar, is on the docket for tonight's council meeting. I understand that they are looking for the release of almost $900,000 that's sitting in escrow with the township. They're also asking for an extension for our development. I'm asking that you deny these requests for the following reason. Our roads have not been completed. The touch-ups that they did do with cement to the sidewalks, individual home walkways, and male cluster ramp are either chipping or missing altogether. Additionally, the curbstones still have cracks or are so uneven that they are tripping hazards. Reseeding didn't take, and we have a lot of dead-looking grass in common areas in the main entrance to the community. Some of the trees that were planted are tilting or look like they are dying already. The signage that was supposed to be placed in front of our development was canceled, so the HOA had to pay for landscaping to be done in front so it looked somewhat inviting. The warranty department has a lot of homeowners waiting for service and are impossible to get a hold of, or answers to ongoing plumbing issues, crooked walls, window problems, siding falling off of homes, and cracks in the flooring in a lot of basements. Lennar has not given us answers to our concerns, nor have they supplied us with a contact person who can help us with our community and individual homeowner concerns. Please do not release these funds to them. Also, please do not give them an extension on this community. We are a small 30-home community that should have been done long ago. The next email is from Prince and Shamsi Varghese, Varghese. We moved into our home in April 2020 during the COVID pandemic. We purchased our home with the mindset that the community would be finished as promised by Lennar. We as first-time homeowners completely understand that due to the pandemic, there will be some delays which are acceptable to a degree. However, after approaching the 1-year mark, we believe that the promises that were made to us have not been upheld by Lennar. The roads in our development have yet to be fully completed. The tot lot that was promised to start construction has not even begun yet as well. The pond to our community entrance has yet to be started. We have requested completion of the fence that was built by Lennar in our backyard. This is yet to be done. I've requested planted trees to be moved as they planted my neighbor's tree on my property. In regard to these requests, some of which are very simple, we have constantly been delayed or ignored. For an upstanding corporation like Lennar, we have expectations that as homeowners to be respected after completion and purchasing of our home. We expect Lennar would be honest and timely in completing their end of the sales agreement. The lack of communication, response, or utter ignorance by Lennar is not what I expected to deal with from a reputable company. I would these promises that were given to us, which we purchased our home under, these guidelines will be respected and therefore completed by Lennar. Thank you again. The next email is from Kehinde Onilari. Hello, we heard that Lennar is asking for some money from their escrow, and we are asking that you deny their request until these issues are resolved, as well as our community, which has been left unfinished. The community road needs completed, our driveway needs resurfaced, community playground as promised, cracks in basement floor. Thanks for doing what is right for our community. The next email is from Raghu Kajita. I'm a resident of Victory Square community built by Lennar and live at 106 Derby Lane. I'm writing this email to inform that the grading of my property was never finished and still stormwater pools in my backyard, even for a small rain. This needs to be done properly and needs new grass seed, as this was also pending since the time I moved into the house in February 2020. Apart from that, I see roads, tot lot are still pending to be completed. Please make sure all these issues are addressed before the builder can leave the community. Coming to the end here, gang. The next email is from Jeff and Linda Grasillo, 115 Derby Lane. Please let this email serve as a notice of our displeasure with Lennar's handling of completion of the development at Victory Square. Firstly, our home has experienced significant drainage issues in our side yard. We notified Lennar of this issue very shortly after moving in. We were promised that the issue would be fixed in September 2020. It obviously was not fixed, nor have we heard from Lennar regarding the same. Secondly, the lack of attention from Lennar leads us to believe that our home will not be appropriately addressed at the 1-year review, as there are multiple drywall pops and settling issues on the interior of the home that must be fixed. Finally, Lennar's failure to address the agreed-upon playground is concerning, as I can think of no legitimate reason not to complete it. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions or would like to discuss further. Hopefully these issues can be addressed without unnecessary litigation. And then the final email regarding Victory Square is from Michelle Altieri, Dear Sir, Madam, it's my understanding that tonight there will be a council meeting with one of the issues being distribution of funds to Lennar, builders of Victory Square located off of Galloway Road in Bensalem. Please be advised that I live in Victory Square and I object to any funds being distributed to Lennar at this time. There are disputes over items in our community that Lennar has failed to complete. In addition to, there are items with respect to homeowners' warranties that have not been fulfilled. I, along with a number of my neighbors, strenuously object to the release of any funds until Lennar has met all contractual obligations. Thank you. That would be all of the public comment received by the township in regard to the Victory Square project, gentlemen.
And it seems to me that's almost half the development. If there's 30 houses, there was more than 15 complaints. So I guess the first thing we have to, you guys know what's going on there. So let's do the land development for Cal Atlantic for, I guess there's a couple ways we can do this because it's all separate in different areas. Do you guys feel comfortable doing Waterside and then doing the Victory Square? Do you want to do them separately? We're going to do them individually, but I want to do one development and the other if that's okay with you.
Yeah, let's do it all together.
Since we just heard all the letters, I mean, the emails relative to this extension as well as the escrow release, why don't we address that, Joe? It's up to you, of course.
No, that's fine. I mean, I don't have a problem with, I mean, we should do Cal Atlantic first, the Galloway Road, Victory Square first. You know, do we want to give them an extension to their land alteration agreement? If we, you know, if we don't do it, what are the ramifications, Mr. Pizzo?
Yeah, Mr. Polari, I had a question for Mr. Pizzo. I think the escrow release is a separate issue we'll have to address, but as far as the land development extension agreement, I think that extending that protects the people,
Right.
hurts the people. So I would like Mr. Pizzo's advice on that. I think he had said that we wanted to extend it in order to protect them and keep them under contract with us. But
That's what I just asked him, what his opinion on it was, too.
If that's your position, I agree with that 100%.
That is certainly always my recommendation to all of you. The extension of the developer agreement keeps the developer on the hook, as it were. It keeps the rights and responsibilities that they have and the township's ability to enforce those rights under the land development agreement in place. So to the extent that they're asking for an extension of time, now you may not want to extend it for the year that they're asking, but it would certainly be my recommendation, because the alternative is that the developer agreement then goes belly up, or doesn't go belly up. The development agreement expires. If the township then begins the process of moving to seize the money and get in a position to start doing the work itself, at the end of the day, that really doesn't benefit anyone. A, it likely ends in litigation, at least for some protracted period of time. Secondly, and during that period of time, the money doesn't get spent. Secondly, excuse me, to the extent that the township takes on the responsibility of completing work, the township, as a governmental entity, has to put that kind of work out to bid. We have to follow prevailing wage and other procurement regulations that apply to governmental entities that don't apply to private builders, and therefore you don't get nearly as much for a dollar if the township does the work as if the builder does it. So if there's $800,000 or $1 million sitting there, which certainly sounds like a lot of money, but as you're listening to all the things that need to be done, that amount of money, whatever it is, doesn't go nearly as far with the township doing work as it does with the builder doing it. So for all those reasons, it would certainly be my recommendation that you extend the developer's agreement, again, perhaps not for the year that Lennar is asking, but rather than creating a situation where the homeowners may not see the results they're hoping to see because the township's now going to be in litigation with Lennar, and that the money, assuming that it when it ultimately makes its way to the township at some point down the road, isn't going to get as, you're not going to be able to get as much done with that money as you could if the builder were doing it on the same dime.
Mr. Pizzo, and maybe this is a separate question and a separate discussion, but aren't these line items that are, listed in escrow, aren't they priced out just for that situation where the township has to perform that work? Isn't that the whole point of us holding those funds in escrow?
The cost of construction, and I'll let Russ speak to whether those numbers are based on the builder doing it or the township doing it. I believe they're based on the builder doing it. What happens is the number is based on, the numbers that are in the construction cost estimate are based on the cost of construction for the builder to do it. The township verifies that those numbers, we believe, are accurate. There is then on top of that an additional amount of money, a contingency, if you will, that is then put on top of the cost estimate, which to some extent, if the township were to have to step in and do the work, it would cover that. The contingency also covers the fact that if this were a project where the numbers are being estimated, let's say in 2018, and by 2021, the cost of asphalt has gone up significantly because the cost of oil has gone up significantly because of any number of factors, either domestically or overseas. Those sorts of changes in the cost of doing things are at least to some extent covered by the contingency. Now, again, what you normally do as part of any land development extension agreement is you require the engineer and the finance department to verify that the amount of money that's in place is still an adequate amount of money to do the work that remains to be done. And to that end, one of the things that the engineer does is verifies that a unit price that might have been $20 a square yard in 2019 and is now $25 a square yard, if that changes the numbers so much that additional escrow needs to be added, then the township, as a condition of granting the extension of time, would ask for additional money. But that's a process that the engineer and the finance department do, assuming you're inclined to grant the extension for whatever period of time you might grant it.
Mr. Polari, can I make a suggestion?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I do want to hear an update to the progress of the work there. I am a little disturbed about the fact that we're hearing so many concerns of Lennar's getting back to some of these residents. My suggestion that I put forth to the board is that, and I agree with everyone else in terms of us needing to extend the agreement. And my suggestion would be to extend the agreement through the end of 2021. I don't want to see it go through another winter because then it really gives them another excuse to delay any work that might still need to be done. Secondly, we have to go back to a situation that we had at Waterside. And Lennar, after we pushed back on them a little bit, Lennar was receptive to meeting with the residents and making a lot of those changes. And I think we have to give them time to do that with obviously our us pressuring them to some extent. And my suggestion for item 12A is that we table that item. I'm just not comfortable knowing all of those issues that's going on to want to release anything at this point until we have a better idea from Lennar and from these residents that some of this work is getting completed, and we have a more firm commitment from Lennar that some of those issues will get resolved.
I'm sorry, John. Go ahead.
What I'd like to suggest is that Mr. Mayor and Mr. Pizzo, maybe we can get a meeting together with Lennar to find out what they're going to do. I mean, this is just out of control. They also want us to approve, sign the agreement for Waterside Phase 3. I don't know that I'm willing to do that until I see where they are with Phase 1 and Phase 2. Phase 1's pretty much done, but where are we with number 2? Are they doing what they're supposed to be doing? I think there's a lot of questions with both of these developers, with both of these developments, and the same developer. I think we need to get to the bottom of it. We need to know what they got. You can't come into our town and give our residents less than what they deserve for the money that they're spending. So I think that whatever we can postpone, we postpone. I think we need to take care of the residents of our township and making sure, Mr. Mayor, you think we can get that set up with Lenore and get some kind of meeting, whether it be with the administration and get.
Mr. Polari, Mr. Polari, if I remember correctly, and I guess it's well over a year ago now since we've been virtual all this time, but we did have Lenore come into a council meeting to address concerns down at Waterside. I think it would be appropriate to do it at another public meeting. Let the residents know what's going on. Let the whole township know that we are holding these developers accountable.
We can do both. I mean, we should start now and not wait till the next council meeting. Start tomorrow and start getting on their cases. Have the administration get the ball rolling as to what's going on here. When you have 30 houses and 16 of them are complaining, and who knows what the other ones that may not have known about the meeting, I think we need to start tomorrow and not wait until.
No, I think that's fine. I think we should do both.
I agree with you. We will get them on the agenda to be here and answer to, or be, on the Zoom meeting, or hopefully by then the state and the county starts releasing some of the restraints they're putting on us.
Here's my suggestion is this. I agree that we should extend the agreement so they can approach it and hopefully give them an opportunity, as you had just said, Mr. Polari, for the administration to address them and get on their case relative to them, understanding that the COVID-19 had something to play within that, but by the same token, they seem to be dragging their feet when you have this many people complaining about what's happening. Also, when we get to 12A, it's amazing that I don't quite understand how can there be so many recommended releases when many of the complaints that the people had lodged with us today are relative to the roads, relative to the bad seating, relative to the concrete work, things that we should be responsible for. And understand there's internal things that people are complaining about that they can directly talk to Lenore on a one-to-one basis. But I'm actually surprised that there were so many releases that were granted based on the amount that was requested. I thought it'd be a lot, should have been a lot less. I don't know. Russ, do you want to address that?
Yeah, I can.
Me too.
Yeah, and I'll have Quentin also. This is their first request for escrow, which is kind of odd that they haven't requested escrow release throughout the life of the project. Their original escrow release was for $922,000, $922,856 of the total amount that they have escrowed of $1,150,791. Now, after reviewing their request for escrow release, we cut that additional monies down by $30,000, over $30,000. And there's still a balance left of $260,000. If you look at the escrow release, and once again, I'll allow Quentin to comment on this, in those releases where they've requested and we've reduced $30,000, there's a number of reasons, and one of those reasons, and one of the line items in particular, is the adjustment of fine grading that we need to and we've actually not granted what they've requested because we recognize some of these on-lot issues where water's ponding on a lot and whether it has to be filled or earth removed. We've recognized that that needs to be done, and we're not recommending that all those money fees released. None of the road topping money is being released at all. None of the top lot monies are being released at all. So there is a recognition, I guess, in the escrow release recommendation that there are a lot of shortcomings here, and as a result, not all of those monies that they've requested are going to be released, and there's still a substantial balance left in the project to fill items that haven't even been done. And one of the things, too, that we haven't done out there, and certainly we appreciate the residents pointing these out, there hasn't been a punch list established there yet because the developer hasn't requested that a walkthrough be done to establish a punch list to identify a lot of these items. That's not to say we're not aware of those. We are aware of them. And when we look at these items as it relies to the escrow release, we make reductions in those overall amounts. And Quentin, I'm going to ask you just to follow up with that, because I know you've been down to the project site a few times, and you have some comments and observations. And obviously, we've been doing ongoing observation too.
Before you go to Mr. Neron, Joe, Mr. Polari, could I just say a couple
Yes,
of
sir.
things?
Go ahead, Mayor.
We're talking about this escrow release, and I think the way you get their attention right now, you're talking about all this stuff tonight, just deny that, so we can get very quickly, to them. They understand that that they need their money released, but here's all the problems. I think once you start playing semantics and back and forth, and that's released, the other. It's tough to get their attention. So I'm just saying, it's not my vote. I'm just saying.
That's been, I think, the major discussion here is I think everybody's sort of on board to hold up these escrow releases. You get them back in here and get their explanation of why these things aren't getting done. That's just my opinion. I think we need to do that.
I was willing to consider tabling it, but I think denying it is even better. I think we would all agree with that.
Yeah, I was trying to clarify that we could legally deny it. I'd rather deny it.
Well, that's why I was going to ask Joe Pizzo. Joe, can we do that?
Well, from a legal standpoint, probably preferable if you table it. From a practical standpoint, it makes no difference. Whether you vote to deny or vote to table, you're not authorizing the release of the money tonight. And so the practical effect is exactly the same. But I'd say at this point, I'd recommend that you table the item 12A, and you bring it back and you'll put it back on an agenda in the future when you believe that it's appropriate to do so.
I think if there's an understanding from the administration to the Lenore Corporation that this was tabled by council with the future action that it will be denied if they don't take action, I think that should be something that would be discussed from the administration to Lenore if in fact the council agrees with that.
I agree with you, but they should still have to come in front of council and let council know what they're doing and let the residents know what's going on. Because when they turn on their TV and they see Lenore and they see us asking the questions and they get the answers right up front from Lenore, we're doing our job. That's what our job is, to do that. To just throw it back at the administration and not have them see the work that's being put forward to make sure they're protected, I think that's something we have to do as a board. That's just my opinion.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with you. But what I'm saying, I guess the point I was making is that when they are notified that they were tabled, I think there should be a call, and there will be, I'm sure, from the mayor, because he's in agreement with this, that they're on thin ice with what's happening there. And we're not going to tolerate this. We're not going to tolerate it. I mean, we all know what we're talking about. This is supposed to be an elite part of Bensalem, something that's going to be much nicer in terms of many homes that are already here. It's brand new construction, beautiful. I don't know what the square footage is, but I imagine it's got to be 3,000 square foot or something like that. We've been in, myself and Joe Pizzo and Ed Took-Major, and we've all been in the homes, talk to the people about this, and I think we're all on council are surprised that this is being handled in this way. So I agree with you, Mr. Polari, that the council should bring this. It should be brought before the council, and they should be on notice that we're not happy.
So
I agree, Mr. Kisselback, and I'd add that this is not the first time that we're dealing with Lennar on these types of situations, and it's really disappointing for a developer that wants to come and have a steady business in Bensalem. It's disappointing that this is how they act with the residents here.
I think we were all happy when we found out Lennar was coming to Bensalem initially, but it was such a large corporation being able to handle these little problems. I think that was our hopes and aspirations for this company coming to Bensalem, and they don't seem to be coming through, as you're saying.
Well, I think we're all on the same page. Mr. Sloan, you can finish. Mr. Sloan, finish your comments.
No, that was it. I was done. Thank
All
you.
right, Mr. Knowles, you had something?
No, I just think we should make a motion to extend the development agreement, and with the understanding that the people that, the residents that wrote letters tonight, with the understanding that we're doing that in order to keep us in a better position to help them in the future to get this resolved.
Well,
Okay.
if we're going to give an extension, I'd like to see us give a 6-month extension and say to them, look, we want the answers, let's go on, and if we get the answers and you're doing the things you need to do, we can extend it from there. That would be my opinion. So let's go, if we're all seem to be on the same page. Quentin, did you finish what you needed to say, or did you have more?
I didn't say anything yet. So I was just waiting. I was waiting my turn.
All right, it's your turn.
Okay. So, regards to the, we'll say housing issues, I'm not aware of any of that. That's really not on our office. Joe, if you want to send those emails to me, I could send them over to Ken Farrell tomorrow and see if they can have somebody go and look into that. I mean, that's your preference there. Regarding the roadway, I'm not really sure the status is on the roadway. I know we're waiting to get the tot lot in. From what I understand, about a month and a half ago, it was taking a while to get the tot lot made. And they were telling me January, February it should be done. So I'm anticipating that coming soon. At that point, I know they're trying to get all the roadway topped, basin converted over to the actual basin. I did talk to my inspector a couple weeks ago. He wasn't when he was preparing this release. He does have a couple areas where some minor grading issues. I did have him go out last fall, kind of do a walkthrough to see what was going on. So we are aware of some reseeding, stuff like that. For the lots that we're saying about, I guess I forget the house number now with the window well. If I could get that, we would check that out during a rain event, see exactly what's going on there, to get that corrected. But he didn't tell me of any major problems that he saw out there. So I think all the grading issues are pretty minor at this point, but nothing that doesn't have to be addressed. So we can just focus in on it again, see what's going on during rain events, and see what's going on, and we'll go from there.
Quentin, is the pond working at this point?
The pond or the basin?
The basin.
No, that's still a sediment trap currently.
So, do you think that's causing some of the water issues that we're seeing?
No, because basically right now, with the roads not being topped, the storm drains in the streets aren't functioning as they should be. So the ones in the lots themselves, which are primarily on the right side, lot 1 through I think 11, there's some other ones in the inner island. As far as I know, they're working. Now they do have bags on them for sediment control. They were supposed to pull those bags out. They did get approval from the county conservation district to pull those bags. They might not have been pulled yet. So if those bags are in, and those bags fill up with water, the water is not going to drain out. So that could be one of the things.
That was a while ago. That was approved.
Yeah. So I think most of them should have been pulled, but I know there's still some out there because I was out there in January with the developer kind of walking around. And I said, you could have pulled these already. And he's like, I'll make a note to try and get somebody out here. But
They have made a lot of notes because, he committed to the tot lot back in October that we'd have that done. And that's.
Well, yeah, we rejected those submissions though. So we kind of held that up a little bit because what they proposed was not what was approved by council. So after a couple back and forth, we finally got that straightened out. We talked to the original designer to get the information that was proposed to you back in the day. And we've finally got all that straightened out. It's per the plans. Now it's taken 3 months to build it, basically.
Yeah.
Let me back up for a minute, if I may. You're saying that it was somewhat our fault, but I don't agree with you. Because if they weren't, because the tot lot, if they did not build the tot lot according to the township specifications, and that held them up, that wasn't our fault.
No, they submitted shop drawings to us to see if we would approve what they were proposing. When we compared them, the shop drawings, like say for argument's sake, we had a swing set on the plans that were approved by council. There was a 2-seat, we'll say a child seat, and then a 2-seat infant seat on the swing set. The drawings that we received only had a 2-seat regular kid swing. So we rejected that, sent that back to them and said we need all 4 seats.
But
So-
they had the plans for the 4 seats before they started it, correct?
Yeah, Mr. Kisselbeck, it seems as if they're trying to cut corners, and another good example of that is just the sign that's supposed to go out there at the beginning of development. One of the homeowners had mentioned that they went out there and did some landscaping because they were refusing to put that sign out there, even though it was also included in the initial plan.
All right, Mr. Player, when you're ready to accept a motion, I'll put a motion on the floor that we
Ed,
extend it.
let's go to number 7 first. Let's do these one at a time since we're all.
Oh, that's what I'm doing. Oh, I'm sorry.
Number 7's consideration and signing of an agreement for Waterside Phase 3.
That we tabled.
That we tabled, we're not doing that to a date certain, right? All right, number 8 is the developer extension agreement for Cal Atlantic.
Yeah,
Right.
go ahead.
That's the one I'll make a motion on that, and let someone make another one on 12A. But my motion will be that we will extend the agreement until August the 30th. And if you need to have a reason, I'll tell you why I would use that. If we go the total 6 months, which I have to agree with you, Mr. Polari, then that ends up at the end of September, which gives them a very short time to finish up things. Then they have another excuse to say, the winter came in, the rain came in, we couldn't finish anything. So I think if they're on notice that August the 30th is the date we're looking for, that gives them that little extra time to get things completed and gives them an opportunity and us an opportunity to negotiate. So I would say August the 30th, I would like to extend the agreement until. That's my
I'll second
motion.
that.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Ed Taknasian, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it, 5-0. Number 9 is the land development extension for Waterside.
Mr. Blair, are we going to stay on the same topic with 12A since we're talking about Victory?
At this point, we were all over the place. We were Waterside, we were at the Galloway Road project, so let's do them right down the line so we don't
Okay.
miss anything. Number 9
Fair
is
enough.
consideration of land development extension for Waterside Phase 1 LLC, State Road, tax parcel 2-65-22, 2-64-139, and 2-64-138. What's your, do we have a motion?
Well, we haven't addressed this at all, but I'd have the same concerns of, what is the work that still has to be completed? Why the need to extend it for a full year? Is this something like the last one we just handled where a shorter extension might be more appropriate?
I think a shorter extension, and we're going to be calling them in, and we can ask all those questions and find out exactly where we are. We can even ask the engineer to give us a list of what's outstanding for each one, so when we do that with Lenore, we have it in front of us.
So then let's do the same thing then. I'll make the motion that we extend the agreement through August 30th.
I'll second the motion. It's asked for.
Any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Vote on.
Opposed? Abstentions? I'll skip ahead to 12A and then go back to 11 since we're on the Galloway Road and Waterside. We'll do A and C, and, well, we might as well do 12 altogether.
All right.
All right, because
So, Mr. Blair, I'll make the motion that we,
the second,
Journals.
I did.
Knowles. What's that, Ed? What were you, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, excuse me. I was going to make the motion for 12A when you're ready.
Okay, consideration of escrow release for Galloway Road, Galloway Reserves, AKA Victory Square, Release 1, 2670 Galloway Road, 2-33-7. Go ahead, Ed.
Yep, Mr. Blair, I'll make the motion that we table this item in full for a date to be set sometime in the future after we have that discussion with the developer.
That's fine.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hold on.
Opposed, abstentions, we don't have to vote on it, right, to table?
No, yeah, that was.
Okay. Vote passes 5-0. That's number 12.
12A.
12A. Now, we're going to do 12B. We might as well do all of 12, and then we'll go to Waterside C, okay? What's that? Ed Taknasian made the motion, Ed Kisselback the second. You're welcome. Developer requests Samarpan Hindu Temple, release number 6, 2746 Mechanicsville Road, 2-36-8, escrow release of $112,135. Gentlemen, do you want to or make a motion?
I will make a motion that we approve the escrow release number 6 for the Samarpan Hindu Temple, tax map parcel 2-36-8, in the amount of $112,135, subject to audit by the finance department.
Do we have a second on the motion?
Second it.
Who has that second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Vote aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it 5-0. You got those, Dev? C, developers request Waterside Phase 2, release number 1, State Road, 2-65-22, 2-64-138, and 2-67-139. Gentlemen, your pleasure.
I think we should continue the same action to be consistent. And I would suggest.
I agree.
My motion would be that we would table that and until we discuss it with the Waterside Phase 2 developers.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Blair.
Okay, Ed Kisselbeck, Ed Todmasian. All in favor?
Aye.
Vote aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it 5-0. There's no, right, we don't need a exact date. And Mr. Mayor and Mr. Pizzo, you guys will talk, get something set up so that there's you guys get the ball rolling and set up for a meeting with council. All right. Number 11, consideration of a resolution for 537.
10.
So you need 10 and 11.
Sorry about that.
Same.
I'm all over the place tonight. Number 10, consideration of a resolution for 537 PA Sewage Facility Act plan revision for the new land development of parcel land identified as 1837 Street Road land development.
Gentlemen, this is the Act 537 resolution that you are routinely asked to approve. We had a fairly significant discussion regarding the one for the school district lot line change a little earlier this evening. This one is for Bensalem MZL, the owner of the former Kmart site, which is being developed as a grocery store and furniture store. The resolution is the standard Department of Environmental Protection resolution for these purposes. It's been reviewed by the township engineer and by the township administration, and is in a form acceptable for your consideration and approval this evening.
Any questions from the board? If not, a motion would be in order.
I can't make this motion fast enough. And and I do make that motion.
I'll second it.
I'll let
Ed Kisselback first, Ed Todmasian second. Any questions on the motion? All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it 5-0. Number 11, consideration of a resolution 537 PA Sewage Facility Act plan revision for a land development of parcel identified as 4651 Neshaminy Boulevard subdivision.
Gentlemen, this is a two-lot subdivision that was approved by council back in, I believe, 2019. Again, it's the standard form required by the Department of Environmental Protection for the amendment of our sewer facilities plan to reflect the addition of the additional lot as part of the township sewer system. The resolution has been reviewed and okayed by the township engineer and by the administration, and is in a form acceptable for your consideration and approval this evening.
Any questions from the board? If not, a motion would be in order.
I'll make a motion to approve it for 4651 the Chamonix Boulevard.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it, 5-0. Number 13 on the agenda, consideration of land development extension agreement. Applicant Crespo Estates Phase 2, subdivision off of Crespo Lane, tax parcel 2-70-4. Mr. Pizzo.
Again, we've had significant discussion this evening regarding land development extension agreements. This one is for LBD Enterprises for Crespo Estates Phase 2. They're requesting an additional one-year extension out to January 13 of 2022. This project, as you're aware, is not yet underway. The development agreement, however, has been provided to the township. It has been fully funded, and if you are inclined to grant the approval, it should be with the review by the township engineer and the township finance department, as was alluded to in an earlier discussion regarding such agreements.
Well, I'll put that in a form of motion that we approve it as presented.
Do we have a second on the motion?
I'll second the motion.
Any question on the motion?
Do you know when they expect to actually start the development? Put a shovel in the ground back there?
What I've been told by the Building and Planning Department is that they have state issues regarding the site, primarily the wetlands crossing, as well as whatever other environmental approvals are necessary. And with the state for the better part of the last year working fully remotely, things have not been moving at the speed the builder would very much like, particularly in terms of getting people out to the site to do some of the things that the state approvals are, that are required to accomplish and obtain the state approvals. So that's my understanding from the Building and Planning Department. Hopefully, as things continue to loosen up and the governor is laying off the reins and allowing more and more things to happen, the hope is that these state agencies will get back into their offices as well, and some of these things can start to move a little more quickly.
Thank you, Mr. Pizzo.
Certainly.
Okay, we have a motion.
Yeah, second.
Ed Kisselback, you made the motion.
Yes.
Second.
Ed, Joe Knowles, second. Any other questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it, 5-0. Number 14 on the agenda, public comment. Mr. Mayor, we'll go to you first today.
For public comment?
Oh, public comment, I'm sorry. I'm afraid.
The township received an email, two emails regarding the Act 537 approval for, let me start over because I thought these were the same, but they're not. So the township has received an email from Andrew Nazuski, 4939 Neshaminy Boulevard. This is in regard to, I believe, the Costa 4-lot subdivision. The Costa 4-lot subdivision is not on this evening's agenda. I'm assuming Mr. Nazuski thought that it might be, but it is not. I believe we anticipate it coming up for an agenda as early as your next meeting. If council, unless council objects, we can just save this comment for when you actually consider that project at an upcoming meeting.
Can we hear what the comment is? I mean,
If you'd rather I read it, I'll be happy to read it.
Yeah, let's do that.
Andrew Nazuski, 4939 Neshaminy Boulevard. I'm opposed to this resolution. This is a repeat of February meeting. I'm opposed to a 4-lot subdivision. 2 lots are correct size, but 2 lots are undersized. This is out of character for this Belmont Hills zoning. Please reserve any decision until Mr. Costa submit plans. This is premature and a vote must be postponed. Thank you.
But we're not voting on it, so.
Yeah.
He thinks the Chamonix Boulevard's a sewer thing.
Hence my initial point. Mr. Nazuski then sent the same resolution, or the same email, but made it clear that what he was opposing was property located at 4651 Neshaminy Boulevard. So otherwise, everything that I just read is the same. So those are back-to-back emails from Mr. Nazuski, both applicable to the Costa subdivision. We then have an email from Joanne Cotton at 2762 Colmar Ave in Bensalem in regard to the house. She lives directly next to 2748 Colmar Avenue. I've addressed the council before in the zoning hearing board about this house. I believe the house was condemned by the township and in court with the RDA before the pandemic. As you know, this property had a feral cat problem. Because I live directly next to this house, it became my problem. I have buried about 6 kittens that have died on my property. About 2 or 3 years ago, before the owners, the Harkums, were told to leave the property, we had about 55 to 60 feral cats. Animal control was called and got the majority of the cats on a fix and release program, but not all the cats because we had a litter last year. I myself rescue a 9-month injured cat off that property with 1 eye and 3 legs. Kitten season is approaching. The remainder of the cats are in very bad shape. They are sick and hurt. It's heartbreaking to hear them every night crying in pain. When I called about this, I'm told, quote, they will eventually die, or have I thought about getting a dog, end quote. Not the answer a taxpayer is looking for. It is very cruel to have these cats suffer the way they are. The Harkum brothers who started this colony sneak out every night to feed them, but take no responsibility for them. Also, the cats are getting into the condemned home. The outside of the property has been taken care of by the township after a large tree fell on the roof, but no one checks the house itself or these animals. The Bridge Clinic was a huge help with the first set of trappings, but since they are no longer funded by the township, they do not come out. I reached out to Bensalem Animal Control today, but no one called me back. Is there something the township can do to assist in getting these cats taken care of? The way they now are is inhumane. Joanne Cotton. I can tell, at least insofar as where we are legally, the township did undertake the condemnation of the property through a blighting process, which was done publicly, I guess back in 2019 and into 2020. After the township declared the property blighted, the RDA then moved for the condemnation of the property with an intent of tearing down the house, cleaning up the site, and putting the property up for sale. The township, or after the RDA filed the condemnation papers with the Court of Common Pleas, the property owners who have not been able to find the wherewithal to maintain the property nonetheless found the wherewithal to hire a lawyer, and the lawyer filed a set of objections to the township's action to condemn the RDA's action to condemn the property. The RDA responded in kind, and those pleadings have been sitting in Doylestown now essentially since the onset of the pandemic. They have not been acted on by the court, although we understand that they are on a judge's desk. Our hope is that they will be acted upon in short order by the court. We hope that they are acted upon in the RDA's favor so that the RDA can move forward with finalizing the condemnation and begin the process of tearing the house down and eliminating that blight. So insofar as the structure is concerned, the township has been in court numerous times over the last number of years. I've reported that to you numerous times over the years, culminating with the township taking the action of having the property blighted. At this point, there is nothing that either the township or the RDA can do from a legal standpoint vis-a-vis the condemnation, other than we're waiting for the court to act. Um, in-
No, let me make a comment on this.
Certainly, Mayor.
Because we're all frustrated. Every Thursday when we have our meetings, this comes up. These are things that repeat and repeat and repeat. We had the cops going by there at night trying to catch them feeding these animals. Not successful at that. You know, we're putting that effort into it. The frustration, Joanne, I understand Joanne's frustration. I do. She's been putting up with this for a long time, and other neighbors, and you know, we have the same problem. Other neighbors are feeding the cats too. We found out some of the cats are people are doing that. They feel sorry, I guess, for whatever reason. Until we can take this house down or have it rehabbed or something, the courts have to act. And our frustration is just as much as anybody. If I could go over there myself and knock the house down, I'd do it. And we'd get a loader, go in there, and wouldn't take much to clean up. The law says no. I just wish you guys would get the frustration that I get on this end of not be able to do anything. So I don't know what our move is to court, and you know, Joe Pizzo, I understand that COVID has backed up stuff there too. I don't know.
It has, obviously,
You know, we hear this crap all the time.
like other facets of society, when the governor shut down everything last March, the court system was included in that. And the court system, like any other public facility where the public routinely enters the building, routinely enters courtrooms, you know, there was an extended period of time from March into the summer where no proceedings were being held in the courthouse whatsoever. Jury trials maybe still aren't taking place in Doylestown a year later. I'm not sure. Again, for the protection of the public, of the people in the courthouse, the wheels of justice are certainly moving at a greater pace today than they were last March or a good bit of 2020. But again, as the mayor alluded to, and in defense of the courts, a backlog, you know, the Bucks County is a very busy court system, and you know, when you shut it down completely for a period of months, once you start to ramp things back up, it takes time to catch up.
Joe, their preliminary objections, the POs they have, how much longer do they have to go on that? They made it, right? They made a preliminary objection, correct?
They filed their objections, they timely filed, and the township timely responded, and it is now for the court system to rule.
Okay. Okay. You know, we have no other legal thing, right? We're where we're supposed to be, and that's it.
That's the briefing that I received from the RDA as recently as today, as to what the status of the litigation is. Because again, understand, it's at this point, the solicitor for the redevelopment authority is the one who's in charge of that litigation. They are doing it on our behalf and in consult with us, but they are the RDA is the entity that is charged with the task of condemning the property.
Just a quick question on it. Hopefully the judge sees to it that he puts an end to this. But just a quick question to the rescue, the bridge clinic. Are we still we're not using them anymore? And secondly, didn't we pass some cat ordinance, or weren't we looking at something? And would that address?
We looked at it, but it was never passed. No.
Okay. Right.
That's something that we want to revisit.
It is, because it's something we all made comments on, and I think Mr. Clary wants to take the lead on this too.
Yeah, and it's a problem. It's a problem throughout the township. We have more and more people feeding feral cats. People in some developments leaving their garage door open a little bit so the cats can come in and feed and get out. And we have a lot of residents that can't spend the summer in their backyard because the scent is very disgusting and can't. So there's a lot of things we have to do. And yeah, I think we should look at that again and get it to the table and do something so we can start protecting the residents.
And just the bridge clinic, we work with them. They're in Bensalem now. I mean, they have a facility, and we work close with them to help them with their facility. So we're not in bad terms with them with any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, I didn't know if we can get him over there, you
Well,
know.
But again,
I can say call Michelle and ask her that. I don't know why they wouldn't go out again.
Yeah. And I do recognize they don't remove the cats. They're only over there to treat them.
Yeah, and put them back out. They neuter
Yeah.
them and put them out.
Yeah.
Anything else, Joe?
that's all on that one. The last email for the evening is from Joseph Connolly. This is a reprint of something some of you may have seen on various social media platform in the last week or so, and I believe perhaps in one or more newspapers. My name is Joseph Connolly. I purchased a property in Bensalem, Bucks County some time ago. I'd like to sell my property, which is my right. However, I have attempted to have it surveyed for about 5 years, as I believe there are major problems with the property lines, amongst other things. I have been facing opposition from my township at every turn. To date, I have spent roughly $150,000 hiring what I believe are corrupt professionals who are conspiring together. The township may have even been convinced an attorney to refuse to help me with my case during a meeting with them. Over the years, I have hired 7 different land surveyors who have taken my money but have not completed the survey of my land properly. If you ever purchase a property, do not accept a boundary survey. I highly recommend acquiring an ALTA, American Land and Title Association survey. Not one surveyor will give me an ALTA survey. I have a letter stating that the deed to my neighbor's property is incorrect, and the tax map shows my property line running right through my neighbor's building. I have been taken to court by the township for several different reasons over the years and have been forced to pay fines for issues that are no fault of mine. Somehow, the fines levied are always for the maximum amount allowable for the alleged violations. The last group of fines included 7 total fines for $1,000 each. Some of the issues I have had to deal with are as follows. 1. There is a wall in question that I have been accused of building. I know for a fact that I did not build that wall. It was erected prior to me purchasing the property. Local residents have even said that the wall has been there for nearly 20 years. 2. I have been fined for erosion issues that are, in my opinion, being caused by the neighboring parking lot not having a stormwater management system. 3. There is an extremely large mound of dirt on the rear of my property that was placed by the previous owner as a temporary stockpile and still remains there 13 years later. 4. I was fined $1,800 for a yard sign on my property that the township did not like, as I accused them of improprieties. 5. I have evidence that Robert Olender, the original owner of both properties, built an illegal building in 1984, and the subdivision plan was rejected by the township and covered up ever since. This is just a small but nonetheless aggravating list of issues I have had to deal with my property in the time I have owned it. I am on my 4th attorney, who I have heard is the best real estate attorney in Bucks County, not. My goal is to sell my property, which I have not been able to do. I am extremely frustrated, as I thought it was an honest world where all I am trying to do is ensure my children and grandchildren have a better life. If you have any knowledge and wisdom to help me or know someone that does, please reach out to me at 267-228-7109 or lms2009@verizon.net. Thank you, Joseph Connolly.
Any other?
Gentlemen, again, the survey issue is one that, by Mr. Connolly's own admission here, he's hired 7 different surveyors, none of whom can give him the survey that he wants. to receive. The township isn't in the survey business. The township isn't in the title insurance business. And you know, as we have said on countless times, at least as to this issue or this suggestion that the property lines are different than what show on the tax maps or what are described in the deeds, is an issue that Mr. Connolly needs to resolve through the courts. My understanding, again, as we've said publicly, he has attempted to resolve unsuccessfully through the courts. The courts can't give him the satisfaction he's looking for. The surveyors can't give him the satisfaction that he's looking for. The township certainly is not able to give him the satisfaction he's looking for. So as to that issue, you know, we continue to go around in this circle. It is unfortunate that this problem continues and that you are continuously confronted with it. But as to that issue, it's just not something that the township is able to resolve. As to the other items for which Mr. Connolly did receive property maintenance citations, as well as the neighboring property that he complained about, who also received property maintenance citations, those have been handled through the court systems. Fines have been levied. Fines have been levied against both the property owners. Those matters continue in the court systems. And finally, I should advise you that as recently as this afternoon, I was advised that Mr. Connolly is contemplating legal action against the township. And so my recommendation to all of you at this juncture is, I don't think there's anything that any of you can say that will make the matter any better for Mr. Connolly, and certainly not for the township if we're going to find ourselves on the other end of a lawsuit. For what it's going to allege, I don't know, but nonetheless, it would be my recommendation as chief legal counsel to the township that public discussion on this matter end at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Pizzo. Okay, is that the last of the public comment?
That is the last of the public comment.
Okay, now we'll go to number 15, other business from supporting personnel. Mr. Maher, we'll give you first.
Thank you, Mr. Polari. The biggest thing right now that we're going through here is certainly the vaccine. We're inundated every single day with calls of where they can receive the vaccine. Our hands are tied here. Finally, they did come through after I announced earlier with the Chamonix Mall on the 16th. They will start in the Chamonix Mall. They still haven't talked about the senior center. I don't know why. I don't want to go into those details, but we have absolutely no control over this. There are some private places giving out the vaccine. I know Saturday, Bensalem Pharmacy gave out 400 vaccines down there. I was very surprised. So you just have to go online and call the county. They're the ones responsible for this area, and certainly the state. And I think if you read the newspapers, a lot of communities are crying about it, but our hands are tied. I can't call somebody and say, please give this person a vaccine. And you hear the sad stories. We're old, we need it, you know, and there's nothing I can do. Other than try to help them where to go, what site to go on. There's several places you can go on, and other than that. But it is, you know, I use the word frustrating tonight a little bit, but that's frustrating also. But the good part of it is, it seems like they're getting more done as we speak, more and more every day. So just letting everybody out there that's listening and they need the vaccine, just follow through. Call the county, go online, make your reservations, and have to wait. That's it.
Okay, thank
That's
you.
it, Joe.
Mr. Sloan?
Thank you, Mr. Polari. I wanted to get well wishes to Director Samori. I hope he has a speedy and full recovery.
Yeah, I wanted to give a report, Jess. I don't interrupt you. Go back.
Please.
But, He's going to be in for at least another 2 weeks in the hospital.
Okay.
So I understand he's doing okay. It's a week today that he had the operation. So yeah, I wanted to give you a report. Just forgot, but you can continue. I apologize.
Thank you. I appreciate that. One more congratulations to Coach Tony Chapman at Holy Ghost Prep.
Yeah.
The mayor, myself, Councilman Tukmajian, Councilman Knowles, were all down there on Friday for a wonderful award ceremony celebrating 900 wins for the basketball team in his career. Truly remarkable, and we're so happy to have him here in this community. It's incredible. And so another congratulations to Tony Chapman. Ed, I will not steal any thunder, but there is a big congratulations coming from me too, with respect to the Pennsylvania Junior Academy of Science. I'll let Ed do that one. Today is, I wanted to just share something that I found earlier today. So today is International Women's Day. I encourage the public to go check out. There's a 60 Minutes interview. You want to talk about some incredible women. NASA is in the middle of Project Artemis, which is training 18 astronauts. Right now, I believe there's a class of 18 astronauts, 9 men, 9 women, and the goal is to put, return to the moon and put a woman on the moon. And Project Artemis is being run mostly by women. So I think it's just, myself, like, I'm an engineer. I definitely nerd out over this stuff. This is a pretty fascinating time. I grew up obviously just hearing the stories and watching all the videos about the moon landing. I think it'd be incredible to see humans reach for the stars again in my lifetime and be able to witness that. So happy International Women's Day, something to be inspired by, hopefully. And that's all I had. Thank you.
Yes, my wife tells me she's going to put me on the moon all the time.
I thought Jackie Gleason accomplished that.
Did you have anything else, Mayor?
No.
Okay. Mr. Tukmajian?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Blair. I had to make dinner tonight for Women's Day too as well, so I committed that to my wife. Just on the positive side, to Councilman Sloan's point, with everything that's going on with the school district and just the educational system in general, it's just nice to see some of the positives that are still coming out. So particularly, Mr. Chapman is my alma mater down there at Holy Ghost. So again, congratulations. Thanks to everybody that was able to attend. Mayor, for putting together that recognition. Thank you. Secondly is the Pennsylvania Junior Academy of Science. I know that Bensalem did well this year, just as good across the middle school and high school. So again, it's just nice to see some of the accomplishments that we're seeing from our Bensalem students. And that should just real quick for the vaccine. Mayor, correct me if I'm wrong. I just want to just clarify in the Chamonix Mall. From what I understand, it's just simply an expansion of the current program that's already in place. It will not be a walk-in site. And go back to your point that people need to register at buckscounty.org. You have to get on the list.
That's yes.
Yeah. Okay. And then sign up. And then, and then one other point too as well. What's happening is, from what I understand, is that they are calling people for those that do not show up for your appointment. So if you're further down on the list, don't be surprised. You may actually get a phone call. So if you see a number you don't recognize, pick up the phone because that is also occurring as well. I believe if they take so much out of the fridge that they have to use it that particular day. So, and that's all I had. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ed. Mr. Knowles?
Yes, how you doing, Mr. Blair? Appreciate it. Thank you. I wanted to add before I forget that it was a lot of fun and an honor to go down to Holy Ghost and see and honor Coach Chapman. He graduated from Holy Ghost in '72, and he started in 1978, which was my actually senior year at Egan. So some of my friends were on the Holy Ghost team. I watched them, and I of course went down when my son was attending Holy Ghost at the games, but. Not only is he a great basketball coach with 900 wins, he does it the right way, and he's a real example of what a teacher should be in our community and a leader. But also, I wanted to clarify, just mentioned somebody, if someone could clarify later when we're dealing with this, the Galloway Road project with Lennar, is because the complaints mentioned a pond, and then Quentin mentioned it's a retention basin. So I would look like Quentin later on maybe to clarify with the people. Is it a retention basin that, is going to look like a pond because, or is it, or do they sell it as a pond and it's really a retention basin? Because there seem to be a couple complaints in there saying that we're supposed to have a pond. And I don't know if it's a retention basin that's going to function like a pond once the fountains are in. I've seen those where you have several fountains. That's what they kind of sold us, like on the toddler playground site. There was a legitimate toddler playground, and I think it looked like a pond with the functioning water sprinkler. So I hope that we hold their feet to the fire to get that done. And that, just be safe. Get on buckscounty.org and be safe. I do think, from what I'm hearing, from what I'm reading and hearing, that by April we're going to have the Johnson & Johnson vaccines going to hit the ground. It's a one-shot deal. If you get on the list, just be safe in time. Do what's right. Be safe. Keep your distance if you can. Just double up on wearing a mask if you can until we get this done. And I think if we hang in there a little bit longer, they're saying by April or May, midsummer for sure. If anybody wants to get a shot, they're going to have one available. So just be safe. In the meantime, get your name on the list, and we're close to getting this done. That's all I got. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Mr. Knowles. Mr. Kisselback.
Thank you, Mr. Polari. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Holy Ghost Prep Coach Chapman for his 900 wins. It is quite an accomplishment for sure. Took a few years to get there, but it's still, I'm sure his percentage of wins versus losses are on the positive side for sure. As we all know, 2020 was a year of almost depression and such that we have to look at it, especially for our children. So I'm hoping that in a short time that our schools can get back to being in school and accomplishing all the things we have to do with our children in terms of physically being there. And I hope that the teachers' unions and the school board get an opportunity to work together and accomplish this goal to get our kids back into school. And there's many, many other detrimental things that are happening to them, depressions, suicides, things like that, and not giving them the opportunity to move along socially in terms of the years that they're missing in school. So I hope that's a priority to all of us in Bensalem. Get our kids back into school, please. Thank you, Mr. Polari.
Thank you, sir. Mr.
In one bit of housekeeping here, in just going over my agenda and notes for this evening, to the resident, Mr. Nazuski, who wrote earlier regarding the Costa subdivision. He put in the second email 4651 Neshaminy Boulevard, and as I was just going over my notes on the agenda here, 4651 Neshaminy Boulevard is obviously the one of the two sewer facilities resolutions that you approved this evening. That was not for the Costa subdivision. That was for a two-lot subdivision. The applicant's name is Gruzin, Gruzin. So council did not act this evening on the Costa subdivision. It did not act this evening on a 537 for Costa. Costa is a different address. 4651 Neshaminy Boulevard is not the Costa subdivision. So if anyone is still watching, Mr. Nazuski, that hopefully clarifies that point for you. Mr. Kisselback was talking about mental illness and how pervasive it's become over the past year. I've heard Director Harron speak on several occasions on how the township's calls for police, first responders have increased dramatically over the past 12 months. And yesterday marked an anniversary here in Bensalem, the untimely death of Bensalem Rescue Squad EMS, Danny McIntosh. And Danny's untimely passing in the line of duty was in part a result of him responding to a mental illness, a call involving an individual with mental illness. So it's a part of the job that our first responders all have to deal with, and have to deal with more and more now. And obviously, I know everyone wants to acknowledge the passing of Danny, who again died in the line of duty for the township. St. Patrick's Day will come and go before our next meeting, so happy St. Patrick's Day. It's my son's 21st birthday, so that's why I will. It'll have special significance this year. That's all I have, Mr. Player.
It sure will.
Don't forget St. Joseph's Day, too.
That's right.
There you go, Joe.
March 19th.
I'll just reiterate all the kudos and congratulations, and ask you to keep our police, fire, and rescue in our prayers. They're hardworking with all the troubles we have in the community. They work hard to try and make sure that everybody stays safe, and keep them in your prayers. And that'll be the end of our meeting tonight. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.